reach upstairs when you're there. So.
Okay, gang, we are in session for Subcommittee of General Government, and we're going to be taking a review of budget amendments as submitted by members. And staff, why don't you tell us kind of how this is organized, and then we can start walking through them.
Sure thing. So we've organized this by secretarial area just to try and keep some of the same themes together.
Okay.
So starting out, we have the amendments under legislative, and the biggest items that you'll see here are with regard to staffing and benefits specifically for a second legislative aide. There are two different amendments that have been put forward. One gives full benefits but eliminates funding for any part-time aides or assistants. The other option puts forward health benefits for the second LA.
Okay.
If staffed as a full-time employee.
Okay, so let me make sure I understand this. So the idea would be right now we have a second legislative aide that's a non-benefited employee.
Correct.
And theoretically, we can split that up amongst multiple people. And this would basically make that a second full-time state employee.
Correct.
I have that amendment as well. I don't see it on here, but I guess same thing.
Yes, you have it on line 5, Senator.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, not at all.
So we've got, how come the Norman version is more expensive than the Eben version?
Would you care to speak to
mine
yours?
is just health benefits, health insurance.
Okay.
only.
And his is what? It's also
It's full benefits,
401k or whatever.
et cetera.
Okay. All right. There's the issue. All right.
Okay. We can move on briefly to judicial if Katie wants to cover that.
Yeah, sure.
Go ahead.
So I'm going to skip the bills, but there's a group of these that deal with court-appointed counsel. A bill is going to be coming before the committee to deal with that as well. Just as a reminder, last year, some bills related to public defenders and court-appointed counsel went to the full committee, and then we directed JLARC to study that. So JLARC is still looking at the court-appointed counsel. There's several substitute judge per diem. That
Right.
bill came out of judiciary yesterday, but it's actually speaking to retired recalled judges.
Oh, so what about sub-judges?
I mean, we could still do that in the budget, but the bill that came out of judiciary only addresses retired recalled.
Okay, is there a budget amendment for all substitute judges? Because I would hate to make a distinction between someone who's a retired judge and someone who's a practicing attorney. I mean, why should one get paid more than the other?
I know last year you all did both, so I can look at what that would look like this
Okay,
year.
why don't you, if we do increase that, I want to make that across the board. I don't want to pick and choose.
Got it. Moving on, there's some bills, again, that I'll skip. Sarah Pearson, there's your bill for petitions for Senate's modifications. That's up later this week.
Yep.
Another thing I'll highlight is on line 18. That's not a bill. That's Virginia's Community Mediation Center. This is coming from Senator Marsden. And basically, some states have state-funded. Right now, you only get mediation services if it's court-ordered, and then the Supreme Court will pay for you to get it. This would expand it so that it's essentially hitting it more upstream. You can get it before it's mediation, before it's court-ordered, and allows our existing mediation centers to expand some of their services statewide. I think those are, we obviously have the salary increases for district court clerks from both Senator Boysko and Senator Peterson. And then I know there was also some interest in doing parity for circuit court clerks.
Okay, so Peterson's a little bit more generous than Boysko. Okay, so it's 7.8 versus 4.9. Okay.
And I think those are the only ones that aren't related to bills.
I
that we
see
need to highlight.
Stanley adding a judge in the 22nd district. Is that called for? I mean, are we authorizing that?
So that was adopted, I believe, last week by the full committee. What I learned is that we do it when it's a recommendation of the Committee on General District Courts, and this was. So that did, I think, move forward because it was a recommendation of that committee.
Okay, all right.
That's it, I think, for judicial, unless there's questions.
I had one on VRS for judges. Is that in a different bucket? Okay.
That's farther on down.
Okay.
Just briefly before we go back to Katie for comp board, I would draw your attention to line 35 with the Parents Advocacy Commission work group. We haven't heard it yet in full committee,
It'll be up in,
but we're expecting it to be up. And then otherwise, we just briefly have a placeholder from Senator Bell. And then from Senator McClellan, we had a Tribal Nations Ombudsman who would be named by the Secretary of the Commonwealth, but would live within natural resources. So that's why it's under this agency here.
so line 38, and there are a few like this. Basically, right now, we distinguish sheriff salaries based on population. This would still do that, but it would bring folks who are up to 40,000 up to the 70,000 level, so it would kind of lump together those bottom 2 or 3 salary grades.
Okay.
This next one, Senator Boysko, law enforcement positions and funding based on 1 out of 1,500 of the population. This is something that my understanding is comes up, every year the comp board submits this, and historically we haven't done it, but it would, again, fund it so that your sheriff would match your population count.
Okay, so it'd be 13.4 million, and you get a deputy sheriff, 1 for every 1,500 people?
Correct.
Isn't that,
It's in the code.
it's in the code?
Yeah, I mean, we put it in the code, I think.
Oh, we ignore it? Okay, shocker. All right. Okay.
Line 41, Senator Newman, you can obviously speak to this, the sheriff's deputies 10% salary increase. If you, I can move on.
Didn't we just increase sheriff deputy salaries?
We've done sheriffs and police, and we need to do what we need to do, but we understand.
Okay, all right.
Moving on to line 43, Piedmont Regional Jail Authority positions, there's a few. This was in the Senate budget last year. This deals with a jail that it didn't go through the state-approved process a while back, and so now they don't get state funding, and so this brings them up to basically treat them on parity with other jails, and the subcommittee and the full committee did decide to include this in the Senate budget last year. This is from Senator Ruff.
Why is it negative, Mr. Chairman, why is it negative?
There's 3, and basically right now they're keeping more of their federal overhead cost recovery, so it nets out to be positive, but it's just that change affects their federal formula.
Okay. What's up with the Richmond County Commissioner of Revenue? Is that a new office or something?
I might have to ask additional details from Senator McDougal on that. I can circle back.
Okay.
And then moving on to page 2.
And just the Commissioners of Revenue, that's just an across-the-board,
We did. Last year we had commissioners on revenue, but not treasurers. I know you all expressed interest in looking to having parity with the treasurers.
okay. I'll have to check in with the Commissioners why I think that they felt like that was supposed to be in the governor's budget, but go ahead.
Line 48, Commonwealth Attorney salary increases. Line 49, Roanoke Circuit Court Clerk funding. Line,
Why are we shifting that from non-general fund to general fund?
I used to have it at the top of my mind. Let me look back at that and circle back to understand. And I think those are the only ones. I'm happy to keep reading through, but other than that, if you all just have questions on the compensation board ones.
Senator Locke raised about treasurers. Do we have a budget amendment in for treasurers?
We do, from Senator Lucas.
And that's,
53.
Yes.
oh, you're right, 53. Okay. So that's basically bringing them up from last year.
Yes.
Okay, all right. I'll put a star by that. Okay.
Okay, and so then briefly moving on, we have the 2 items under general services. SB 1228 from Senator Obenshain, you'll notice here on line 60, but then also farther down on line 97, there are 2 separate budget amendments. This is all in relation to expanding LODA. And so the administrative costs, he's put in a placeholder of $50,000. The agency has said that they would need $35,000. But you'll see down here on that last line of page 2 that he's putting in $35 million for the broader costs of expanding LODA. Okay. Moving on briefly, you see several amendments under elections. We have items including yours, Senator Eben, for same-day voter registration processing for $1 million in the second year. Moving on to items within the Finance Secretariat, there are a couple of items here, one from Senator Serval, one from Senator Hashmi, for staff for Department of Taxation. But otherwise, I would say we could move on to central appropriations. Some highlights here are SB 904, on line 76, item 483, number 11S.
Okay.
No, not at all. This bill has made its way through the Senate and will be going over to the House. So it's just something to keep in mind.
What line are you on?
Sorry, on line 76.
Okay.
So that would be expanding qualifying disorders to include anxiety and depressive disorders.
Okay.
You'll see your item here for circuit court judges.
Yeah, this
That's
is
included within this as well.
basically, rather than give a pay increase to circuit court judges, I think the best, I'm having talked to circuit court judges, the best way to get better judges is to give them a boost to their retirement. And this would just give basically a $35,000 payment into the retirement system on their behalf. That's why it's a one-year thing.
Exactly.
Okay.
And you'll see a lot of items within here are sort of related to that in the sense that they're speaking to compensation.
Right.
It's a running theme this year. But if you look down at line 82, for example, I'd like to draw everyone's attention to this amendment. It's been submitted by more than one member, but I've just highlighted it here under Senator Hashmi. The proposal that's been repeated here, and that can be explored more broadly, would be to repurpose the money that's been included in the introduced budget for bonuses and make that funding permanent.
And
So from last year in Chapter 2, we increased state salaries by
Right.
5% the first year and 5% the second year.
yeah,
This proposal would bring everyone up to 9% for the second year,
so
rather
it'd be
than 5.
5% to 9%.
5% the first year and 9% the second year.
Okay, and the bonus is, what was the bonus intended to be? It says it redirects 199.8 million.
Well, you'll recall, Mr. Chair, that there were two bonuses that were included in the introduced budget.
Was it
One
2
is-
plus 2?
Well, there were two separate models. The first was a flat $1,500 bonus to
Right,
state employees. It would be
right.
the same qualifiers as last year.
Right.
But the second was a merit-based bonus that would be up to 10% of qualifying employees' salaries.
Okay,
But that would be based on the employee receiving a rating of,
so the idea
Extraordinary
is to take all the bonus money and basically make it into a salary increase,
correct,
which would be effectively 4% on top of what we're already doing.
correct.
Okay, any questions? Everyone understand that? Okay.
Okay. Oh, here we go. Sorry. Falling behind on my job.
Thank you.
There we go, Senator.
Get things out and stuff. Doing whatever it's doing.
You all right? Okay.
Well, I am. I asked her.
Okay, keep going, Jess.
Okay, and then finally, you'll just see, under independent agencies, we have a number of items that are related to retirement packages. We're at the bottom of page 2 and almost to page 3. And so looking, for example, at lines 94 through 97, you'll see a number of amendments here. All of this is looking at reducing the number of months that would be needed for the break in service for retirees to come back to work, whether part-time or full-time, depending on the amendment and the relevant bill. But at the moment, all of the bills that you'll see here and that you'll see on the following page have the break in service limited from 12 months to 6 months.
Okay.
And largely what you see here in terms of funding under those amendments is related to administrative costs.
Okay,
for
now
VRS.
remind me, on 97, the open chain, 35 million.
That's expanding LODA, and I can actually.
What is loaded, line of duty?
Yes.
Okay, who are we expanding it to?
Let me pull that up further for one moment.
35 million, I think, answers nobody. Right?
Let me see.
Yeah,
I apologize for not having that at top of mind.
okay.
498. So this would be offering to, this is not mandatory, but it would be offering the option of allowing private campus police to pay in to join LOTA.
Private campus, please.
Private college and university
Yeah, didn't
police.
we pass that bill the other day?
I believe so, yes, sir.
We did what?
Yes, it's on second read.
Oh, okay.
If they're going to buy in, then why is it costing us 35 million?
He put it in as a placeholder.
Oh, that's quite a placeholder. Okay. Hello, Alan. Yeah, well, I mean, 35. Okay.
Actually, I think that's just, I think it's supposed to be 35,000.
Oh,
I just put that in. Is that big a,
Yeah.
well,
So-
I
I
apologize
was like
everyone for
35
my
million.
extensive
Okay, I was
typo.
35,000 sounds a little bit more doable. Okay, did everybody
Oh,
catch
goodness
that?
gracious.
It's supposed to be 35,000, not
My
35
apologies,
million.
everyone.
Okay. All right.
All right, so that takes us through the member amendments.
Okay. Any questions? And so these are all the member amendments. And then do we have the governor's amendments? I guess we've already looked at those.
We have looked at those, and if you would like to chat with me further offline, I can discuss those with you.
Okay, why don't we talk a little bit about schedule, as they would say in Great Britain? Schedule. Schedule. When are we going to meet, I guess, as a quiet meeting? What's our schedule for meeting?
If people happen to be available now.
Okay,
Oh, okay.
okay,
Us.
Like right now.
okay. I usually,
Go upstairs.
my wife and I speak in Korean when we don't want anyone else to understand, but
I hear
not
you.
going to work with you.
I think I'll
Okay.
figure it out based on your
Okay,
facial
I'll just say,
expression.
all right,
I'm available now, but as your
Okay.
staff, I can be available at your
I say,
convenience.
gapshida means let's go. Okay.
Yeah, let's
Okay.
go.
Okay, very good, we're adjourned.
We're going, you're up upstairs.